Hello, my name is Jasmine Woodard with NACE, and I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Implementing Competency-Based Experiential Learning to Improve Student Career Readiness Outcomes. We encourage you to actively participate in the chat and please post your questions in the Q&A. I'd like to thank our sponsor for today's webinar, Suitable. It is my pleasure to introduce Randy Bidding, Head of Strategy and Career Readiness for Suitable, and Lawrence Fauntleroy, Director of Experiential Learning, Lehman College School of Business. Take it away, Randy and Lawrence.
Thank you, Jim.
Appreciate it, Jasmine. Yeah, Lawrence, I think I'll just introduce myself because I look a little bit shorter on this photo than you. My name is Randy Bidding. I've been with Suitable about 6 months now, but many of you I know because I'm a serial entrepreneur in this space. I was the founder and CEO of Interview Stream, which was kind of the first digital interviewing platform out there. And then first person over at Handshake when there was just a few founders and they were still in Michigan. And then I was the co-founder of Readiness at Skills Survey and started kind of measuring and bringing hard data on soft skills, I call it, to the marketplace. And so really excited to be here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Lawrence.
Thanks, Randy. I appreciate it. I love the hard data on soft skills. I'm Lawrence Fauntleroy, Experiential Director at our new School of Business at Lehman College, which sits up in the Bronx. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with the Suitable team, specifically Randy. So I'm going to get started, and so we can jump right in, Randy.
And before you do get started, Lawrence, you're looking sharp today. And so, I just wanted to bring this up ahead of time just because, I know you're in New York or the Bronx, right? And, maybe we can just jump into it because, it is a different market than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, where, my style is kind of like the entrepreneur. I'm more hoodie and I'm wearing my webinar shirt. You're on mute today, but, as kind of a sharp dresser, how do you kind of approach that with your students?
So and Randy, I'm always in default mode. So this is my default mode. So for me, with students, I'm always saying it's probably better to go this way and then make those quick adjustments. So if you walk into an office and it's kind of dressed down, no tie day, I can just take off my tie and you always look good in I think in a blazer. So I think you'll be okay. So this is my default mode. It's basically what I feel like is, I can go down from here. I love the hoodie mode. We talked about this, Randy. So for me, when I'm talking to students to getting out into their career, I'm always saying, let's start high and then we'll kind of work ourselves down, depending on what that particular career industry they're going into. So this is my default mode. Is much easier for me in this.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you kind of addressing that because it's a little bit of oddball question, but very relevant in today's space, and especially kind of you're in New York, and obviously it's a little bit of a different market, and we'll let you get started here.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Randy. So I'll get started. So we have as people who are on Suitable may know, you get to name what your program is, and the name of our program is LEAP, Learn, Empower, Ascend, and Progress. And we really thought about this name because it really is about kind of leaping into your career, leaping into what you want to do after college. So that's how we kind of came up with the name. I'll tell you a little bit about Lehman really quickly. There's a CUNY system, a conglomerate, about 25 different colleges, public colleges. And so we're the largest public urban university in the United States. Let's talk about Lehman. So Lehman College happens to be the flagship CUNY school in the Bronx. We are the only four-year public college in the Bronx. So our surrounding competition is a lot of private schools. So we have to be nimble and compete with them. We sit in the northeast section of the Bronx. I just said we're only a four-year public college. We have about 13,000 students enrolled at Lehman, and 70% of those students are transfer students. So I often like to make an analogy of Lehman almost being like, if we can be a really great airport, which means a lot of students are going to their connecting flight. So they may come here already with an associate's degree, and they're looking to connect to that next flight. I think we can be really good if we can get them to the gate and their luggage to the gate and up in the air in a really smooth fashion, because by the time they get in the air, we always say whatever hard things they have to do, they're already up in the air. So all you really can do is just look over to the person sitting next to you and say, okay, I think we got to do this. So that's kind of like the way I look at it, is that we can get them up in the air and off the runway. We can pretty much, they can get started with their career. Let's talk about the School of Business. So we launched the School of Business in July 2022. So our birthday is coming up July 1st. We'll be officially 3 years old. When we did that, the dean, that first couple of months, the first beginning of that first semester, we asked the faculty, we brought the faculty together for a retreat. And what we really were trying to do is kind of figure out, what could we not do in the classroom? What was something that was, from a career ready perspective, that we needed to do, that we couldn't do in the classroom, but we could get out from a co-curricular perspective. So what we did was we came up with some competencies, and said, okay, these are the competencies that we need to tackle, that it makes it a little bit harder in the classroom. So I'll start talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, and before you get into that, it just blows my mind that you're the only, college of business or school business in the Bronx, and such a great location, right? And I think, and maybe you'll get into this, but the kind of the culture, because I think I heard you on podcasts talk about kind of, and I think you were using this metaphor for employers, but I think, just looking at the CUNY system and being well over 100 years old, like how do you call them kind of more of a cruise ship, but then how do you kind of maintain and be like agile, because you've done so much in a few years and become that kind of speedboat within a bigger system?
Yeah, I mean, it can be challenging, Randy. I often refer to as a conglomerate, more of an ocean liner, and it takes a long time to turn corners. And so we have to be nimble. If you know New York City, we have 5 boroughs in New York City. The Bronx happens to be the small business borough. There's about 27,000 businesses in the Bronx. Many of them are little micro businesses, and 60% of our students that come to our school live in the Bronx. So we know that we have entrepreneurs right on campus. Some of them may not know that they're entrepreneurs. So we know we have to be a lot more nimble. And so we use programs like this to be nimble, so that we don't necessarily have to get approval to do it. As far as running in the business school, we can be as nimble as our community is. So that's part of how we do it. And it's on the top of our agenda: community, engagement, mentorship, career. That's at the top of our agenda.
Awesome.
So, we talked about the business school, our business school, cultivating essential business competencies. I talked a little bit about that, about the 3 competencies that we started with, and I'll talk about that. But really partnering with local and global businesses. And we say global, we just mean bigger industries, but really reaching out to the community first. There's tons of talent that walk on our campus. I think my job and the school's job is really to create more opportunities and more access. That is something that we constantly tell our students, that we all have to come together with this at the same time. You just can't sit in the classroom and wait for that to happen. So we're excited about that. What we did was we decided to make 3 badges. We wanted 3 badges, 3 levels that students could really identify with. And so I put sophisticated digital badging system, but Suitable really helped me with this badging system. And it really was really empowering for students, because then they could kind of see what they're doing. And that's one of the reasons why we really like the platform. But let me talk about those competencies real quick. So what we discovered when we did this retreat was that career and self-development, leadership and professionalism was where we had a gap in the classroom, so to speak. So we immediately said, okay, when we bring Suitable in, because they're built on a NACE infrastructure, we wanted to make sure that those 3 competencies were at the top of our list. And then we later added teamwork and technology last semester, and next semester we're adding communication. So we launched those again fall 2023. We added those 2 competencies, teamwork and technology, and next semester we're adding communication. Our overall goal is to add all 8 competencies, But we like stealing from other schools. We've seen other schools who have added their own competencies. So we are working on looking at our own competencies to add. So that's really exciting that Suitable has the flexibility and the kind of platform where you can really cater to competencies that mean something in your particular on your particular campus.
And Lawrence, talk to me about the kind of the retreat you talked about, like to give some
Yeah.
ideas to others. Was that a retreat that happens often, or you know?
Yes. Yeah. So our dean, Dean Hurley, has made it a staple at the business school. So it is a retreat every single semester. And that is because we want to continue to reinforce how important it is to be accredited as a business school as we get on this accredited journey. So we do this every single semester. Our next retreat is coming up in early April. And so we just continue to say, what are we doing? How are we doing it? How can we be much better? And this goes back to what you asked before, Randy, is to be nimble. I think if we waited for a retreat once a year, that's how ocean liners move. I think speedboats move a little bit more nimbler, where they know we have to keep turning this corner, keep turning this corner. So that's why we do it every single semester. It's on our calendar every single semester. We have presentations from faculty, presentations. I give a presentation on LEAP every single semester just to let our faculty and our students know. And we bring in students, champions of LEAP, to come in and talk to faculty of how much of a difference this has made. So yeah, the faculty retreat is a staple every single semester, Randy.
Yeah, and we'll get into faculty in a little bit because I know it's on a lot of people's minds. But talk to me about kind of your relationship with Dean Hurley and how important it is to kind of be on the same page and have that support from leadership.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's my partner in crime. I think if you ask her, she'll say the same thing. We're always trying to figure out how we make this better. We both have vested interests. I'm also a two-time Lehman alum, and Dean Hurley has been at this school for about plus 20 years. And it wasn't always a business school. It was her leadership that turned us into a business school, and she's been working on that for a decade. So invested in all those different ways, and we're always trying to think of different ways to give our students opportunities and access.
Awesome.
Okay, so right on cue, Randy. So Dean Hurley actually attended a conference where Bucknell was showcasing the benefits of Suitable, and she texted me while she was at that conference. She said, "You got to look into this platform." So I started immediately when she texted me. I started Googling it, and then I actually sent Bucknell an email and said, "Hey, I know you guys are at the conference, but I would love to sit down and talk to you about what you guys are doing on Suitable and how is it working for you." And what makes it very different of all the schools I've talked to, and I didn't mention that, we're a commuter school. So we don't have dorms on campus. 70% of our populations are transfer students. 60% of our students are working. So we knew this was going to be a challenge because we wanted to engage students. We wanted to keep them here. And so we really had to be thoughtful about and intentional about, okay, how are we going to really tip this and really have our students engage on a day-to-day basis, whether that was online or whether that was in person. And I also connected with Loyola Marymount, and a big shout out to North Carolina A&T. I forgot to put them on the slide, but those three schools I really talk to often and really admire what they've done. And all the other schools, I've been on tons of webinars that Suitable has. Whoever has not been on their webinars, please do so. Easy to digest, and really you can steal some really good ideas. And then we just took advantage, in public institutions, sometimes you got to take advantage of discretionary funding. We immediately did that. As soon as we had the money to pay, we immediately paid for it. It is paying off dividends. We are looking how to make it a line item in our budget. And so that's really how bringing on Suitable happened. And we always talk about bridging classroom between career and the classroom. So we always ask students, how does LEAP fit into your busy academic life? And this is feedback from students that we got. And it's convenient. It's mobile friendly. It's intuitive. It's an app that students are used to having apps on their phone. They get alerts. So it was really very mobile friendly. It keeps them in the loop. So sometimes when you don't know what's really going on campus, and you're here to be, an accountant or a finance major, you can just bring up the app and say, okay, what's going on campus? And it immediately gets you, brings you up to speed. So we love that about Suitable. It's a one-stop hub for business school events. Anything that's happening at the business school that has a NACE competency related to it, we're putting it up on the app. I love it because I think it helps students a little bit with their anxiousness if they feel like, oh, I'm not sure if I really want to go into this particular event. They kind of know what's going to happen at the event. Because you can give all these explanations of what the benefits are. So we love that about it, is that students can really get into all the events, understand why they're doing it, what they're doing it for. So that really makes it really easy, and it allows us to scale from that perspective. And there's always motivation through the leaderboard. Students love the leaderboard. It's friendly competition. You can see your progress in real time. And it's created a community. We'll talk a little bit about that, but it's really created a community from students just say, hey, I saw you at this event last week. What are you doing? Are you networking? So that's really helped us kind of shifting the culture, especially in a commuter school, because that can be hard to do, but we're starting to see it shift the culture at the business school. And like I said, less event anxiety. It really has eased the anxiousness, especially for first year students, that, hey, all these people are showing up at the same event for the same reason. So you see these little tribes being created because students all want to get into their career, and they want to get into their careers quickly and have a great network. And so this is where the network starts first. I call it the lab. We start in the lab first before we kind of get out into the real world.
Yeah, and kind of zooming out on this, Lawrence, I think a lot about this is about engagement, right? And
Yes.
engagement early and often. And, God, there's so many, there's a lot of things that I could go into right now. But I think maybe the first question would be, a lot of this is around gamification too. Like, what are your thoughts on gamification? Like, yes, you think it obviously brings less anxiety. It shows kind of a sense of achievement. But like, how do you approach that? And like, why is that an advantage to your students?
I think it's an advantage, Randy, because it's something that they're very used to, right? That whole gamification piece is something that it's right in their wheelhouse. And the other thing, what we do around that gamification is bring our ambassadors, our LEAP ambassadors. Oh, I always bring them to the table with me. I think that they understand what a student is going through better than I do. And so they talk about the gamification piece of it all the time, about how you can look at your badges, how you see your score rating. Here are the benefits. One of the things that we saw in our first year is that the juniors and the seniors really took to it. And then this last year, our first year students and our sophomores are really taking to it, because this has actually launched. They have the juniors and seniors have leaped into their careers already from having all this engagement, from having this gamification, because LEAP extends outside of the campus. We'll have events down at Bloomberg headquarters. We'll have events at Deloitte. So we actually bring those QR codes outside of the classroom and off campus. So that's the gamification part of it. That's my perspective. Our gamification part of it, that students can really see that they're in the proximity of the things that they want to become. So that's how I interpret the gamification. That's how it's helped us.
Yeah, and kind of pushing it down to kind of those earlier students too, I think is important because are you seeing a lot more, I guess, companies and organizations recruit earlier and earlier?
Absolutely, 1000%. We have an event that's going on at Bloomberg, where they only want to see sophomores. And I just got another event where KPMG only wants to see freshmen coming in March. So we definitely see that. And we have to be nimble. Our competitive advantage is rising with the occasion, not waiting till it happens and then rising to it. So we know that things are happening much earlier. And so we want to make sure our students get a head start on that. And this makes it easy because it's right in their pocket, and it pings them when something is going to happen in a couple of days or in a week. And so that's really helped us a lot.
And so what type of activities that do you kind of assign or set up for your students on that early side? Because, I just see the nationwide trend of first year experience is more and more critical, right? You know, if they're going to Bloomberg, if they're going to Deloitte or KPMG, sophomore year, and that they only want to see sophomores, like how do you get them up to speed?
So part of the way we get them up to speed. So our career services is incredible. Is a great partner in what we do. And so they have a menu of things you do before you get here. So updating your link or creating your LinkedIn profile or updating your LinkedIn profile, your cover letter, your resume. So we have a whole menu on our LEAP application so that students are hitting career services first before they get into this space. We bring industry partners all the time in to talk to students so that eases a little bit of the anxiety. And so it's a collective. It's, by the time you hit your sophomore year, you should at least feel a little bit more confident that you understand what's going to happen. When you go down to a Bloomberg, when you go down to a Deloitte, hey, this is what's going to be expected of you. When you go to Accenture, here's what they're going to act. Here's the questions that they're going to ask you. So really preparing them ahead of time and using this platform to do it has really helped us, and it's allowed me to kind of at a very high level see who's getting involved. And when if I don't see a certain amount of students getting involved, then I can address that without going individually one person at a time. And just to piggyback off that a little bit, Randy, what the dean and I did this particular winter is we started looking at who's not engaged. And so this winter we ran a business school boot camp only for students who do not have an internship, right? We didn't want to invite any students that had internships. The students that had internships came to sit on a panel, but the students that have never had an internship, this particular environment was for them. And we were able to understand that better because of LEAP, because we could see who was getting engaged and who wasn't.
Really interesting. That adds that leads me to another question or thought. 60% of your students are working learners. We know from NACE's research that the number one differentiator between two equally qualified candidates is an internship.
Mhm.
How are you kind of working with those different, working learners? They're paying their bills. A lot of times they're taking care of a family member, or they have other responsibilities. They can't necessarily, take 3 months off to do an internship. So it's something I'm passionate about, and yeah, I'm sure kind of, we had about 850 registrants for today's webinar. I'm sure they'd be interested in kind of hearing how you're addressing the working learner.
Yeah, I mean, so we're always talking about the opportunity cost, what you give up to get. So that's one. But we also, I mean, we were very intentional about how we offer our activities. So it's a 60-40 ratio. So 60% of our things that happen on LEAP are online, 40% are in person. We have things that happen on Saturday and we have things that happen on the weekend. So I'm sorry, in the evening. So things that happen on the weekend and things that happen in the evening. So we totally understood kind of what our student population was, and they're working. And so we were able to and listen to them and really say, okay, we have to make sure there's a ratio that those students that are working that necessarily can't go down to Bloomberg or they can't go to take an internship for right now. Let's get them prepared so that they meet that fork in the road and say, okay, I think I'm prepared for this. And can I give up, the job that I have now that is just kind of paying a cell phone bill or helping out? And we're prepared to help them with that conversation. So it is a good thing to have where we have an Ernst & Young that says, hey, for the summertime, we want to offer you an internship, and they come into my office or the dean's office or our advisors and say, I don't know what to really do. I have this internship from one of the big four companies. I'm working here. And then we kind of walk through that, right? About how these companies are making the investment in you. So this stuff is just not happenstance where they just say, we just want you for an internship, but you've made it, like you've made it past the competition. So always having that conversation, Randy. I would say oftentimes students make the right decision, but it is hard. It is a hard conversation to have, but it's a good conversation to have because students are prepared. And so, I won't say it's a case-by-case basis, but I do say most students have made a decision to make that investment in themselves and do the internship. Okay, go into launching LEAP. So I said we did this in fall 2023. It was our engagement strategy with classroom presentations. So I did a lot of those. Our email campaigns, events tied to all our NACE competencies. So I often ask students or anyone that wants to put activity up on on our LEAP is to bring it to me. Let's walk through it really quickly. Do these events have NACE competencies? So we'll walk through the events before they get up on the platform. I'm always leveraging our student leaders. For me, that's my bread and butter. They have tons of activities they're doing, so we'll walk through their calendar and kind of figure out what are NACE competencies involved in these activities. And if there's a yes to that, we immediately get them up on the platform. We have a LEAP video that our students made. I was not the director. I approved it and said, yes, let it go. But they made a LEAP video that we post on our Blackboard. So the minute you register for class and yet that first day of class, in some of our business classes, watching that LEAP video is part of the requirement. So we're continuously having that conversation and using that LEAP as a brand and as our reputation. So that was really important for us. And some faculty has made LEAP 10% of their course grade. And that's a conversation that we continue to have in our retreats of how much can we make this part of what is taught in the classroom and kind of tie it back with what's happening in industry. So that's really important. And we're making bigger strides. I just hosted a couple of workshops with faculty where we can do kind of like a plug and play where we have 3 different options: how you integrate LEAP into your course grade, how you give it for extra credit, how you give it for students who are asynchronous, how you give it to students who are hybrid and who are coming on campus. So there's a couple of different packages so that faculty don't get overwhelmed about doing this. You can just kind of plug and play, and then this will take off by itself.
And so let's dig into that a little bit, faculty collaboration. And so you have the retreat, and from what I understand, you've mapped a lot of the competencies to each individual class.
Yes, we have.
And just on top of everyone's mind is like, how do you make kind of meaningful connections with faculty and have them adopt this and continue to support it, right?
Right. Well, I'm going to give the credit to Dean. I'm going to give the credit to Dean Hurley for doing that. It's almost like, Randy, when you hit the mayonnaise jar and you just keep hitting it and you can't open it and somebody comes along and open it up. So she's been hitting the bottom of the mayonnaise jar. I just kind of come along and I kind of open it and obviously, I can talk about the platform, but she's been working on bringing faculty together for years about what's been important, and that's how we have our business school. So and I think continues to have this retreat to really enforce that this is what we're doing collectively, and it's in the best interest of our students first and foremost. So I'm going to give the credit to her. And I'm just, I'm kind of like the icing. I just come along and say, hey, we got this great. It's made it easy for me.
Nice. I wanted to jump into one question. As Jesse was going to ask, can you go into more detail as how you market competencies as direct result from participating in an event?
So this is really cool, right? So if you're on Suitable's app, right, you're on Suitable's app and you're going through your activity, they actually have 5 levels on the app. So you don't have to make the points already weighed in. So each level tells you how you're involved in that competency. So first and foremost, if a student comes to me and says, hey, we have an activity, I will have the student or anybody else faculty with me, and we'll walk through those 5 different levels. So the 5 different levels tell you whether it's just an info session, whether there's some engagement, where there's a lot of engagement, where there's some expertise involved. Our level 5 we save just for when you land that employment. So we actually leverage the app to help us walk through what those activities are and if they meet NACE competencies. So I hope I answered that question, Jesse. But that's
I think you did. I think kind of that level 5 is more that high impact practice, most definitely. We'll kind of continue on. Appreciate the questions, and I'll get to more of them as we go along.
Excellent. So adoption of Suitable, challenges before Suitable, right? Some of the things that were challenging as far as engagement was concerned, that we had this kind of patchwork method of tracking student engagement. It was largely informal and kind of fragmented. An inability to understand the impact of our co-curricular program. So maybe one class was doing this, another class was doing that, and maybe dean or myself didn't necessarily know it was happening. So that was some of the challenges before we got the platform. And the adoption of the platform. Let's talk about the adoption of the platform. So it's a 6 to 8 week timeline with the client success team. So big shout out to Haley and Kelsey for helping me bring the platform live. And it literally, I think we went live in a 6.5 week. And I'm really probably a one-man show in this. The cavalry is coming. I am getting help, but it was really 6 weeks. We met all of our timelines. Our IT folks worked with Suitable's IT folks, and that was pretty much seamless. Again, it's a very user-friendly interface. What happens on one end, you can obviously see that on the other end. So that really made it really, really easy. And just, we talked about this, just really getting the faculty on board. I mean, it's always an ongoing effort, right? And a big shout out to the faculty, because some of them have seen shiny things come and go. And so I certainly didn't want this to be this shiny thing that we were not going to continue to do year after year. So big shout out to them for saying, okay, we trust you on this. We believe that this is going to work. And so, but continuing to keep talking about it semester after semester, retreat after retreat. So that has been great. Faculty have been great in that
Well,
sense.
and I want to dig into that a little bit more. It amazes me that, a one-man show kind of, with a lot of support, leadership support, which is a lot of times the most critical, right? Yeah, there's a lot of attendees today that are kind of in your spot. They're doing asked to do more with less, and I just want to give you a shout out because it's leveraging adopting technology is one piece, but yeah, there are a lot of shiny things in the market, but like, it's amazing what you've been able to accomplish so far.
Yeah, it's the suit, Randy. It's the suit. Suit will
Most
help.
definitely.
And then student adoption, right? We really, really, really started small. So our very first semester, we didn't ask for it. It wasn't a big lift. We would integrate in career services. We kind of looked at what students were going to career services for already, and we really started small because we're a commuter school and because we knew we had to be really intentional on how we get students' attention, because they too have seen some shiny things come and go. So we wanted to make sure that we started small. They love the QR codes. I love the QR codes. I think I mentioned there's an activity happening down at Bloomberg. So one of our student ambassadors has the QR code. One of the things to get your points is to go to that event, find our student ambassador, check in with the QR code, and upload a photo of you at the Bloomberg event. So it's fun. It's creative, it's easy to digest, and before you know it, you're like, I went to 5, 6 different events, I met X, Y, and Z, I'm applying for X, Y, and Z. So we love the benefits of it. And so starting out small, taking advantage of the functionality that is really intuitive, really helped us out a lot.
Can you dive into a little bit more about what's your student ambassador program like? Is that kind of really to drive engagement, and as far as kind of, if you can give us a quick overview, because I know being a one-man show, and it helps you out a lot as far as kind of resources and with events and other things that you just mentioned.
Yep. So typically our student ambassadors are our student leaders or our student clubs. And we always have our student ambassadors, or whoever's leading in the lead. You can immediately tell who our student ambassador, whoever is leading in our leaderboard. And what we do is, or what I do actually, is they come with me, talk to classes, they talk to their student clubs, they have their own presentation that they bring to their student clubs that they've made about LEAP. And then again, we have student ambassadors that go off campus and go to industries. And so they will talk to students before they get to those events. This is the benefit. This is why you're doing it. And then obviously kind of Suitable kind of underwrites that as far as making it easy. This is what you did. You can reflect on the platform. So our student ambassadors it's really become organic, Randy. We necessarily didn't have an application for a student ambassador. It really was an organic process where students really liked it. Like I talked about earlier, about students making a video about being on LEAP, about the benefits of LEAP. So, and that came out of them understanding the benefits quickly. So it's happened organically. We don't have an application process. Students will walk in my office and go, I really like this platform. How can I get more involved in it? The dean and I are talking about making more of an ambassador type of program where you do apply, become an ambassador as we get more, my aspirational goal, and we'll see this a little bit later, my aspirational goal as a commuter school is to have 50-60% of our students actively engaged on the platform.
Incredible.
Okay, so strategies that work. And so if you can see this, at number one, Muhammad, he's one of our big student ambassadors. He is a first-year student, and so it's really fun to watch. And this is the part I love a lot, is just watching the leaderboard, watch who's doing what. I can always reach out to them and say what's working, what's not working. Should we do something on Tuesday versus Thursday? So we're always kind of diving into that data. So strategies that work, understanding the culture of Lehman in the School of Business. That was really important because I'm sure, like everybody on this call that's working at a college, the culture can change, right? It can be personality driven with student groups. And so we wanted something that was much more sustainable. On top of that, we wanted a platform that was sustainable. So despite the personalities and everything, we wanted to create a culture where our bottom line is, when you walk out of the School of Business, we want you to at least say you have 1+ as far as internships are concerned, because the data shows that the more internships you have, the more likely you are to land a position at the college. The power of data. I love this because I get to see who's going where, what they're doing, what time is better to throw an event, who's showing up. Is it first year students, sophomores, seniors, juniors? So I love the power of data on Suitable, and it allows me to scale my message to be quite honest. I can really say, I know this is where we're going. I know this particular workshop didn't work. So that's why I love the power of data on Suitable.
And I was just going to add, data-informed decision making, I think is important, but also, I'm not sure if you're going to get into this, but you're a newer school of business, right? And you're trying to kind of achieve that and have the data that's necessary for AACSB
Yes.
accreditation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to be critical. Can you talk a little bit about that and like why that's important to have data?
Yeah, I mean, for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, for accreditation, and two is it's a brand. It's our brand as well. And I think, your brand is often, I think brand is a new word, but it really is about reputation, right? It's our reputation. And so for us, tracking this data, and not only just tracking the data while students are here, but what happens when they leave. I think it's a collection of people in this life-changing business that want to make sure that students take advantage of every benefit that happens in college. And so for us, having this data and seeing what students do post-graduation is really important. And that insight drives the things that we should offer, how we deliver education going forward. So that's why it was really important for us.
Great.
And then obviously the incentive, we love all the incentives that we can have on Suitable, where we can throw little pizza emojis on, and so students know exactly what they're walking into, right? Sometimes we have raffles, or we're giving out Amazon cards, or we did something with an organization where they gave 5 students free trips to a conference in Las Vegas this summer. So there's little things that we can throw in to instigate that students start talking to each other. Have you been to this particular event? So we love that you can incentivize on the platform. That's really been helpful. We talked about the gamification and the leaderboard. I love the notifications because I can wake up, and if I think something is really important, I can send out a notification to keep students engaged. And like I said, I'm getting help in a couple of weeks. So that person will be tasked with making sure all of our notifications are going out, tracking, diving even deeper into the data. So that's been really helpful. And again, it's very intuitive. I don't have to figure out, okay, how do I send a notification? That's been really, for me personally, the real benefit of Suitable is that it's very, very easy from an operational perspective. And we have a year-end award ceremony. So we give the top first-year student, sophomore, junior, and senior, we give the top LEAP winners an award. So we do something where every year we do, or for the last 3 years, we do a graduation for the business school, and then we carve out a little bit of that time to give an award ceremony for the LEAP, for who's been at the highest on the leaderboard of LEAP. But one of the other things that it also helps us do is we can actually see what students are really engaged. So we give other awards that faculty have their input in, but we also can use Suitable to kind of look at, what those students are doing. Students started getting, awards for community awards, leadership awards. This helps us as well to show that these students have been involved in leadership and in community. So this has been really helpful as well.
Lawrence, talk to me a little bit about, it's so cool to see your leaderboard, but talk to me a little bit about kind of how competitive it gets. And not every campus is crazy about, the idea of having a leaderboard. We only show the top 20, but I think, part of this is like, it's really hard to like get people engaged in career readiness but I would argue a little bit on the business school side, they're a little bit more competitive sometimes, but what have been your kind of experiences, and do you have any kind of, I guess, anecdotal or real stories on any of these students that are on your leaderboard?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, we heard that, the competition part of it. But my pushback has always been, the minute you graduate, I mean, the competition starts, right? And that's just how we feel. The competition starts. If you want to get out into your career and into industry, there's going to be competition. I mean, why not practice now healthy in a very healthy way? Why not practice really now? Okay, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. This is helping me more. So for us, we look at it as very healthy competition. Randy, we don't look at it as you're better than me, I'm better than you. This has created a culture on our campus. So, and that's what I talk to students about all the time, is that the minute you graduate, the competition starts, right? Where you're going to be applying to jobs where hundreds of other people are going to be applying to those same jobs. So in this way, this leaderboard is a reflection of you getting prepared for that competition post-graduation, and not about Muhammad being better than Michael or, or Sumrin or anybody else, but really being ready for that competition post-graduation.
Great.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about numbers. And so you can see in the fall of 2023, our numbers were really low that semester. We didn't force ourselves on anybody. We just kind of rolled it out and said, it was almost like, these test case scenarios, you should get involved with it. We didn't, impose on students. It was more, hey, we didn't even go into classrooms that much or ask faculty to really put this in their curriculum. We just wanted to come out and say, have all the signage and all that kind of stuff and the emails. So we were really light in that first semester. And then in the spring of 24, we really started getting involved in the classrooms. And in the fall of 24, we started doing that as well. And then we obviously came in with teamwork and technology, started in the fall of 24. And now we're actually starting to plug and play in our curriculum with faculty's help. So I'm excited about what our 25 numbers are going to look like at the end of the semester. So this is how we look. And what I love, I was telling Haley, and just a big shout out to the Suitable team about this, is really taking a look at this and like not, as a community school, we don't have these huge numbers yet, right? We know that we are building this kind of, Dean and I talk about this all the time, and I'm sure you can respect this, Randy, as an entrepreneur. We're building this plane, we're flying and building this plane at the same time. So we know these numbers are going to grow. We just have to continue to build it. And so I love the fact that, my aspirational number is 50%. We're almost at that tipping point, about 25% this semester. And I'll get into a little bit about that. I think I have some numbers here. This was our last completion by class last semester. And as you can see, first-year students and sophomores and juniors for that matter were all relatively in that same space. Sophomores taking up a lot of the oxygen. And seniors, to be quite honest, were just really discovering it. And I make this analogy when I talked about the airport analogy, is like, don't get stuck on the tarmac, right? Like, you don't want to be stuck on the tarmac and you don't know where to go. So that's the way I give them an analogy. So the way you don't get yourself stuck on the tarmac is really getting involved before you get to your senior year. And that can be hard for us because a lot of our students are coming in as juniors. So really kind of figuring out where they are, meeting them where they are, and getting involved in their career opportunities is really important for us. And Suitable allows us to do that because every single business major is on our platform. So when I run a report to see who's engaged and who's not engaged, I can immediately send out an email specifically to those students who have not engaged and kind of get them re-engaged, or have them reimagine how it looks to be on Lehman's campus and be successful. And then these are numbers again, completion by class. And as you can see, spring 2024, we really, when we started implementing this in the classrooms, the numbers really started jumping up. And then go ahead, Randy, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to just say these numbers here are interesting because, like I said, spring 24, if you look at engagement, so we're at 17%. Spring 24, we really got into the classrooms. And I'm going to take the blame for this. I think I took it for granted. It was like a nice little run. And so I said, okay, this is cool. We're doing well. And I thought I could put it on cruise control a little bit. And then I realized, nope, we got to continue having these conversations, me still stepping in the classrooms. So we dropped a little in fall 24 to 15%. We are now up to 22% right now in spring 2025. So I'm happy about that. Just continue to reinforce the message. Again, like I said, I think our tipping point is about 25%. And when I say that, I mean where it begins to really get contagious, where every student has to have it. And if I just go over to the left and look at our total student number is up to 1,500, almost about 100 more. And note that extra 100 students for spring of 25 are not declared business majors. These are undeclared majors, but they want to be on the application as well, which is really good for us because then we kind of get an opportunity to see those undeclared majors and help them make a decision to be business majors. And so that's the other benefit that I love about the platform is I can see our undeclared majors. Now, they're not immediately put on the platform because the way our interface works is all declared business majors are on our platform. So I have to manually add them. So I've added, almost 100, 150 students to the platform, and which excites me because then we can convert them to business majors. We're not brainwashing them. We're just saying we can convert them if they're interested.
That's incredible. Well, Lawrence, I was just getting excited. I know everyone appreciates data, kind of looking forward to and seeing adoption. But yeah, let's jump into the 3 Cs. It's an incredible kind of part of your message.
Yep. So out of this came the 3 Cs. And as you can see, it's competition, one where you see one of our student leaders being awarded one of the top leaders is created community, where industry comes in and we've created a bigger community on campus, and it's certainly created confidence. And so we look at it as the 3 Cs. And so we're excited about kind of using that as our theme, as our soundboard. So those 3 Cs is what's come out of this endeavor for the last almost 2 years.
And the last one, confidence, is interesting because I always say kind of our approach here at Suitable is we're trying to build kind of solutions and ways to engage students and build confidence, but also give them feedback so you don't give them a false sense of competence either. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, our short-term plan. So let's run through that. Recruit staff to assist in experiential. So I do have the Calvary's coming, so I will have help in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be fun. Update existing badges and introduce new competency-based badges. So I want to talk really quickly about that. And I've looked at North Carolina A&T. They do a great job of having not only the NACE competencies, but adding their own competencies of how it reflects in their school. So that's something I really want to do once I get help. is create our own kind of Lehman type badges and what those thresholds look like and what students have to accomplish to get them. So I'm excited about that. And just our insights, to what we're doing, where we want to go with this, how we want to promote it. So that's our short-term plans that I'm excited about. And then our long-term plans. I think I said this, my aspirational goal is to have 50% of our students engaged on the platform, leverage the data for accreditation, expand our faculty buy-in. And so going from 10% to 15 to 20% of our final grades is really important. And just expanding our experiential learning and career readiness. So always having industry partnerships, always working with career services, who are big partners on campus. So really doing that is important. And then just really being focused on making sure that that everything that we do does support our AACSB accreditation. That is really, really important for us. And measuring those student learning outcomes is our bread and butter. And obviously using our co-curricular transcripts and digital badges. So as evidence that we're doing that. So
Well, and I know we're going to get into your key takeaways and we're going to answer a bunch of questions, Lawrence, here towards the end. But there was a question. Like, can you speak to the Aaron asked, can you speak to the transcript, co-curricular transcript feature? And then, how are students engaging with it? And if so, can you share any best practices for integrating it into your programming? I'm not going to ask you to kind of go into any like live transcripts or anything, but or scorecards on Suitable and Suitable Your Network just for timing. But
I can talk really, I can just make a quick example. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me later, they can certainly do that. A quick example of how so I do this kind of exercise with students with their kind of what they've done on Suitable or what they've done on Leap. And so I'll look at their whole, we'll look at their all their accomplishments, and I'll literally tell them to pitch all their accomplishments and tell me what you've done, how you've done it. And use your phone to do it in the beginning, right? Until it just becomes almost like their elevator pitch. So that's how we're using that co-curricular transcript. So we haven't we've done that at a very high level. We actually do an exercise where we do that, where you tell me everything that you've done, because I believe that creates their brand, it creates their reputation. And then the digital badges, we're encouraging our students to share it on LinkedIn as often as they can. And we want to make our own badges so that, specific to Lehman, not just our gold, silver, and bronze, but some digital badges specific to the skills that they're learning. I just believe in the proximity principle, where you put yourself in a proximity to things that you want to become, and good things can happen from that. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. And then key takeaways, right? Talk to everybody. I mean, I talk to everybody I possibly can. I wrote everything down. I think that's really important. Utilize your colleagues at other schools. Loyola Marymount, North Carolina A&T, Bucknell. I'm sure I'm missing about 3 or 4 other schools, so I apologize. But really, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can cater things to the way it fits at your college. So I think that's really important. Be prepared to creating a culture. And I think that's what we've been doing. We're prepared and open to create a different kind of culture on campus. And so that's been exciting. And listen to students what they want. I mean, get their buy on things. And last but not least, meet them where they are, literally. I go to almost all the events. I think it's important where they see you and always after the event is always said, like, you put this together. Like, you just sent it to me, but you actually put it together. So kind of reinforce and encourage that confidence, I think, is really important. And here's a quick picture. I don't know if you can see, but right in the middle here is Paul Knopp, who is the CEO and chairman of KPMG, that came to Lehman's campus. And this was a LEAP event that we put together. So we had a lot of fun. We explained to him what our platform was. So really thinks that we're doing good things at the school. So we're continuing to do that. And here is my information.
Awesome. And big shout out to your podcast too that you recently started.
Yeah.
You want to tell
Yep.
people about that and where they can find it?
Yep. So we have a Leap into Business podcast, and we're continuing doing the branding with Leap. And what we do is we bring in industry professionals, CEOs, and and all our questions are geared around NACE competencies. So that conversation is about, their career and self-development, their professionalism, their leadership, so that students can kind of, it's hard to be what you can't see. And so we really want to have students come to the podcast, listen to what leaders are doing. We're on YouTube. I don't have the link. I will put the link. We'll send out the link when I have it, but it's a lot of fun. Like I said, we bring leaders all in from the city, from other organizations that come in and are talking to me and my co-hosts. We're really sending a message to our students.
Yeah, what's fascinating about everything that you're doing, right? I describe it as these are the competencies, the NACE competencies are, you can call them soft skills, you can call them power and durable skills, but these are the skills and behaviors that can't easily be replaced by AI. And, I know there's a big focus at CUNY and especially at your program of kind of tracking these and developing these and having students be able to articulate these is important because how my scientists used to describe it is these are the skills that it's typically why you're let go or why you're fired or why you get hired and you grow and you get promoted and tracking those first destinations and outcomes and maximizing them 5 and 10 years out. So just a huge audience today, Lawrence. I mean, you crushed it. And as always, you're such a passionate speaker around kind of career readiness, and we'll present with you anytime again. But yeah, it was just a pleasure having you kind of run everyone through this. And here's Lawrence's information. And I think we got to a lot of the questions during our discussion here, but definitely feel free to reach out to me or Lawrence with any questions, and I appreciate it, and thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Randy, for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks, everyone.